Entrepreneur Girl, and today is Tracy's Tuesday Tips, and we are going to be continuing our series with private label. So this is going to be private label video number 3, and we're going to be talking about taking it from the research to the sample phase. Okay, so last video that we did was about Mike Collins, but the video before that was my first video, and I was talking about how I had been researching private label now for a year. I did some resourcing from Alibaba last summer for my website, and now I was doing it again, but more for like a business. I was looking at it a lot differently, and I was, really going to utilize this in my new business model. I did my research. I thought that I could do it by myself, and in large part I did. I was able to get all the steps, gather all the information. I utilized a lot of free resources like Scott Volker on YouTube and also Jungle Scout. And I just took a lot of notes, and I thought I could do this myself, piece of cake. Everybody made it sound so easy. I was excited, I was overwhelmed. I took all that information and I made cheat sheets for myself that basically was like, Cliff Notes. It compiled all the information into very clear-cut directions for me to follow. And I've had a lot of people ask me to post those notes that I took. So I am going to be publishing the cheat sheets on the website, www.entrepreneurgirl.net, but not yet. I'm going to wait until I get all through the process, and then I'll work on that. But I don't want to get distracted from private label. Then the second video you saw me do was like, help, because I was just really frustrated. It has been now officially 4 months, and I ordered my samples. So my father passed away February 29th, so I know it wasn't like, I kind of start with that date, but it wasn't technically that date. But so I've been grieving, and there's been some other considerations, but it's been 4 months on the calendar, and all I've done is order samples. So in one respect, that's not too bad because there was a lot going on. In the other respect, it just felt really slow to me. It felt like I could be doing this a lot faster, and I could be doing this with a lot less frustration. And so that's when you saw me kind of go through the process of troubleshooting what I was going to do, and I decided to join Mike Collins' private label course. And why I'm doing that is not because I think you have to join a course, because I really don't. I really do think that you could do it by yourself. However, like I said, it's going to add a lot of time to you. It's going to add a lot of mistakes that maybe you could prevent, and it's going to add some frustration that you don't necessarily have to go through. And for those reasons, I opted to try the course, and I'm going to be showing you how it works for me as I go through it. The reason I posted that video before this video was because his course closes tomorrow. And I don't know if that's tomorrow at midnight or when, but I know that it closes tomorrow. It was only open for 7 days, and I wanted to put it out there in case anybody else was interested in doing it. And then also I did a behind-the-scenes tour, so you can kind of check it out. And then there was an affiliate link below, which Mike was super cool in giving me, and it doesn't cost you any more. It just helps me out if you use it that way. So that's kind of what had happened up to this point. And now this video is going to be showing you behind the scenes kind of what I went through, taking all of those cheat sheets and research and getting to the sourcing. This is the part that had me so frustrated because it took me 4 months to get through. So some things that I realized. Number one, it's a whole lot harder to actually do it than it looks. And that's the case for everything, right? People just make it look so effortless, and then to you, you're like, now what do I do? I did the same thing when I was starting Amazon FBA. I kept procrastinating. It seemed like so big and hairy and scary. I had to force myself to put a week on the calendar where no matter what, I was going to send one Amazon box in. And now, of course, I can send Amazon boxes in an hour while watching a movie. So, I've definitely come a long way from that place that I was pushing through the learning curve. So I know in my head that this is part of the process This is the part where people give up. You know, this is where it's tough. The research phase is really fun because you're like spending the money in your head and you're thinking about how successful you're going to be and how this is going to change your life, and it's exciting and it's new. So there's a lot more of that. But when you actually have to walk it, when the rubber meets the road and you get in there and then you come up with questions that aren't answered in the free resources. You know, like they would tell you, okay, you want under 6,000 bestseller rank. So, okay, I understand that. But then when you're looking on it and there's 20 pages, are you talking about, you know, the top 10, the first page, only FBA sellers? And so there's just a lot of stuff like that that comes up that's not necessarily answered. It may or may not be a big deal, but when you're going through it, it's all the time. These new things come up and you start to question yourself because you're like, wait a minute, I didn't know that. So two, the learning curve is brutal. It just always is, whether you're learning to play a sport or learning to do this private label, it's just hard and you have to know it's hard. And when you watch sometimes other people's videos, you get the impression that it's easy, or they don't really tell you the behind the scenes, like, okay, this was dog hard and this totally sucked, but it's going to be okay and you just need to push through it. And so that's really my objective with this series, is to kind of show you the emotion behind it, the reality behind it, so that you can be better prepared and you can think like, okay, I'm not alone. Tracy went through the same thing, and you'll just be able to push through a lot better and you won't give up. The steps that I took these last 4 months. There's quite a few of us that are journeying this private label thing together. So we're all relatively new, or we just, you know, have one or two things under our belt. So we're going to kind of support each other through it and, you know, have that accountability, which is really important. This is my friend Mickey, and she's been a huge encouragement and accountability partner throughout this whole process. And these are snapshots of some of the text messages we've sent to each other, because we've really supported each other when things were rough, and we've given each other a high five when things were good. And we would share information and reports and different things that we were running just to offer that support. And this is just vital anytime you're going through a learning curve or something that's difficult. So I hope you find your own Mickey that you can, you know, share things with and laugh when it's getting tough. As you can see here, she's pulling her hair out and, you know, making me laugh, which I just adore. And then I'm sharing with her that I'm drinking a Corona. I told her I was going to take up drinking from private label. The second thing I did was I watched all of Scott Volker's videos. This is Scott Volker's website on YouTube, and I just printed up a list of what I wanted to watch and highlighted them as I went through. The third thing I did was read the Jungle Scout blogs. There's a lot of really great information there, and I went ahead and signed up for the Jungle Scout program. I did not, however, do the Chrome extension because I felt that was comparable to the Unicorn Smasher that I did another video on, and that I'll link below just so you know you can find it easily. but the Unicorn Smasher is free and the Chrome extension is a monthly fee. And I know the Jungle Scout one is better, but I felt that this one was close enough. And for the difference in price, I kind of went with that. Talked about Jungle Scout before, so I'm not going to go in depth with it, but I started with the product database with the filter options. I selected the categories and the parameters that I wanted for my products, and I filtered the database. And then with the information, when you scroll down, it gives you everything that fits those parameters that you set. And so I printed this up and then I went through it with a highlighter, and I was able to, quickly knock out things that maybe were glass or heavy or big or sharp or, some kind of liability risk. Things that I knew I didn't want right off the bat, I just went ahead and marked off. And then I looked more closely, just kind of going down the line and making a list of potential products that I would research further. Say I was interested in this, I could grab this ASIN number, go to Amazon, and just go ahead and paste that into here. And then I would look and get certain keywords. So like pencil pouch, if I wanted to look at other items that were selling on Amazon after I explored that one. And then when I did that, and all the pencil pouches were coming up, I would use my Unicorn Smasher free Chrome extension. I would click on that, and as you see, pencil pouch, it analyzed it. So these are things that I was looking at as I was searching for the products, evaluating the products on my idea list, and this was kind of like the next step. Okay, and then I would go to Camel, 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 Google Trends, that type of thing, and I would find out like pencil pouch, what's going on there. Look up a pencil pouch, and I can see that it's trending upward, and I can see the years here. I can compare that to, say, if I was thinking, well, do I want a pouch or do I want a pencil case, maybe a hard case or something. I can see that, the pencil case is a lot better of a product, and it's also trending much higher. So I could be like, oh, okay. So say I really liked that pencil pouch, and this is what I would do. Go to Alibaba, and I would look, and I would see what types of products they had on Alibaba like this. And I could scroll down and even just look at the picture to see if there were any pictures like the one that I liked on Amazon. And a lot of times you'll see the exact same case. So like this is where they got it, which is kind of cool because I've never really thought about it before, that a lot of those Amazon products are actually from, China, from Alibaba. So I would scroll here and I would start contacting suppliers. The thing I did on my cheat sheet, I kind of had this process that I was going through, and I would go to the FBA calculator, which you're familiar with, I'm sure, and I would go ahead and figure out how much it would cost me on Amazon side. So I got the group, I got my Scott Volker movies, I did the Jungle Scout. The fourth thing I did was I went to my bank and I made sure I was all squared away. So I have my business account with Wells Fargo. So I have my Entrepreneur Girl account. And then I also have a credit line, a business credit line, and a business credit card just in case I needed it. I'm not advocating that you use those sources for your inventory. I'm just saying that I went ahead and established them just in case I needed them. I made sure I had a business PayPal account and it was linked appropriately to my business accounts. And this just makes your accounting so much easier later when you're not kind of mixing it all in, personal and business. Your accountant will get really mad when you do that. So I made sure everything was squared away with that. Also watched other YouTube videos, Startup Brothers, Cody Hawk, anybody out there that had experience. I talked to the Gilmans, Elena, Devin, and some others because they've been doing it, and they have been doing it for over a year and I know them. Okay, then it came kind of the point of time that I just needed to dive in and do it. The research was over. I had set up everything. It was established. I was all ready to go. So it was kind of like D-Day, and I sat down with my computer and just got to work. And the very first thing I realized is that the Alibaba site was different than the last time I had communicated on it. And I didn't like it. I didn't like the changes that they made. And it was, I don't know, I didn't like it at all. So I quickly realized that I wanted them to email me. You know, I needed to get off that Alibaba site as quickly as possible. Now that I've been doing it for a while, it's better. Now I'm kind of, you know, familiarized myself with it and I can navigate it better. And so it's all good. But that was the first thing I realized. Second thing I realized about Alibaba is even though I was using the templates from Scott Volker, they didn't want to do anything less than an MOQ of 500. Most of the time they wanted the minimum order quantity to be 1,000. And I spent at least 2 weeks beating my head against this because they weren't really willing to negotiate with me. Let me show you the templates and kind of what happened with that. And this is basically how it went. For my time zone, China's 12 hours ahead of me. So the communication, as a tip, I get up and I get to work. Well, when I'm getting up and getting to work, their day is ending. And so I would leave, you know, a comment or something I needed them to do. And then I would have to wait, you know, till the next morning and get a response. And so it was like back and forth one at a time. A lot of them Skype. So that is good because you can communicate like that and get a lot further in one conversation. But I will say that I got better with my communication in just this short time. So I look back to where I started 4 months ago and like not even be able to navigate Alibaba very well. And now I can communicate quickly and proficiently. I sound like a professional. I know what to say. I know what not to say. So that's all gotten better in the last 4 months. The day came when I finally found a product. Now, up to that point, I was really apprehensive. For some reason, I was doubting that I would ever find a product. I thought maybe I'm not going to find one. Maybe, I don't know, somebody has like these magic tricks that I didn't possess. But lo and behold, I did find a product. It was a really good product too, like no competition. I was really excited. I just had pictures of dollar signs all around me. And then I went to Alibaba and there were only 2 suppliers that supplied it. And I still wasn't too worried because I was just so excited about this product. So I started communicating with them and quickly learned that the price to purchase it from them, even trying to negotiate it as hard as I could, wasn't going to give me the profit that I want. They were way, way, way higher than I thought they would be. And I really don't think that it was priced where it should have been. But because there was only 2 of them, I didn't have a lot of room to negotiate or, you know, play it against other people or get like a lot of suppliers and see where they were to see, you know, to kind of define the price that it should have been because there were only 2. So very disappointed. I had to walk away from the first product that I finally found. And so I think that night I went to bed early. So that was a real bummer. I worked all the time, basically 12-hour days, which I hate because if you're on my website, it's all about build your business, love your life, balance both. And I haven't had any of that, which was really helpful to me because of my father passing, but it wasn't helpful because my kids, I know everybody suffered because of it. You know, a mom's in her office working 12 hours a day and it was stressful. And so I'm sure I wasn't like my normal chipper self. And I was tired because I was working so much and mentally working so much. So it was all pretty difficult and I didn't like it. I don't like the way that feels. The whole reason I do this is so that I don't have to spend, you know, 12-hour days working. So I don't have to have that lack of balance. It's so I have freedom. And I definitely haven't felt that way, which is probably one of the main catalysts for utilizing Mike's course. And it's been a long time since I've had a learning curve. I think I kind of forgot. And so it was easy for me to tell people, oh, push through. You know, I've pushed through so much, which I have. If you're on my website ever, read the about page, because there's been a lot of things I've had to deal with and push through. And so I know to do that. And yet here I was in the hot seat again, right? I'm like doing it and I'm having to push through, and it's awful and it's uncomfortable. And it's all those things that I forgot that it was. But this is a good reminder so that when I coach others, I can be like, you know, real with it, and I can be more compassionate and more understanding. But it definitely felt like, you know, one step forward, two steps back, and long days and frustration. And you're just nervous because you don't know what you're doing, and you start to self-doubt, and you start to talk to yourself like, well, they did it, but I'm not going to be able to do it. All different walks of life that are able to push through this, and so you can too. But I just wouldn't give up. So I just kept on keeping on, and finally the day arrived that I ordered my samples. The motions of the first, you know, research phase was feeling overwhelmed and excited. I would say the emotions for this phase, the confusion, definitely frustration, fear. People ask me all the time things that I would do differently, and I think that's a great question, because I can look back already just these 4 months and already see things that I wish I had done differently in the process. And I can also see all the growth that I've had, you know, just in such a short time, which is encouraging to me now, because it just goes to show you that, you know, you really do push through the learning curve. You really do get to the other side. It's just kind of sucky in between. You know, that process is rough. So the first thing that I probably would have done differently is, I love that I got a support system and an accountability group with Mickey and everyone. What I would have done, though, however, is I would have added to that, for all of our benefits, people that were in different stages of the private label process. So, you know, some people that were really experienced but were willing to kind of mentor us along, you know, some that might be in the marketing phase when we're in the sourcing phase, because they could be saying, hey, you know, I didn't think about this, and I wish I had chosen a product differently, because now when I'm trying to market it, you know, so there would be considerations that would have saved me time and frustration, effort, mistakes, you know, had I done that just a little bit differently. The second thing I wish I had done, or had known, I guess, at the very beginning, is the time difference between myself and China, as I referred to, is 12 hours. So I started talking to them in the morning, because that's when I do the bulk of my work. Now, in the process, I'm communicating them late at night, my time, because that's early in the morning, their time. And so now I know the windows. I just wish I had thought about that at the beginning. So if I tell you, maybe you can think about it now versus later. So if you're communicating with them at night, that your time, that's going to be better, because instead of asking, you know, sending like one email and then getting the answer the next day and then sending another, it's almost like text messaging, because it's fast back and forth. The second thing is, I wish I would have utilized Skype type of service earlier in the process. I don't know why that kind of freaked me out to talk to China on Skype. I don't know, I just preferred the written communication. Now I realize the benefit of it is that you can have a, you know, now that when you're starting to work with all of the suppliers and you have the same questions over and over again, you know, what kind of packaging is it? You know, and I don't want a cheap little flimsy poly bag. I want a thicker poly bag. You know, I want it to have, you know, some niceties to it. And so when I'm talking to them, I can really, you know, interact and ask a bunch of questions about the packaging, about what type, does it have a hang tag? Can you have a hang tag? You know, what type of logo work can we do? And have that rapport back and forth. So I wish I had started that earlier in my conversations with the suppliers. It would have saved me a lot of time, but allow myself to get distracted. And I wish I had just focused and hit it and did as much as I could on private label before I allowed myself to get distracted with any element of my business. Because obviously I still have to do YouTube videos. I still have an Entrepreneur Girl website that I'm working on. You know, there's other things that I have to do business-wise. I still have to list product and send it to Amazon so I get a monthly income. But I wish I had started with private label, taken it as far as I could in the morning, then did other stuff, and then hit private label again at night so that I could communicate with the suppliers. The communication phase, one thing I wish I had done was, as I showed you, I started with one template and then I moved to the other template. And the other template was much more aggressive and it just got better results, way better results. So take that piece of advice. I wish I had started with that one first. Other things with communication, I told you I wish I had set up my own email account just for private label, and then within the email organized file folders for different products. So you could have, you know, a teapot folder, you could have a teacup folder, whatever, you know, all the folders differently. And then for communication, I wish I had started, you know, these file folders earlier, because that really helped a lot. And if I had had that at the beginning, I feel like it wouldn't have been so overwhelming. Information is better if you can compartmentalize it.
Okay, so I print up everything that I get, all the quotes and such from the suppliers. So I have a little cheat sheet here that I've been, you know, just loosely keeping track as I'm researching new items. And so I just kind of make these notes to myself. I have these file folders, and what I'm doing with them is I'm marking private label on the top, because you know I have folders for like book writing and website and everything else that I'm doing. But I mark these private label, and then here I'm putting the item that I just, you know, got the quote from. It's an item that I'm considering. I've already done the preliminary work and I think this might be a go. So now I'm looking into it. I'm talking to suppliers about it. I'm getting everything that's printed up. I'm looking at my competitors. All my notes about this product will go in this file, and I'll write that item here. So if it's a teapot, I would put teapot here, and then everything inside would be for the teapot. And then in these notes, I'm actually making supplier notes, like who I'm talking to, what they're saying, you know, the contact person, are they gold, how many years, supplier, are they like 14 years? But I date it and put like where we are now. So I can kind of just at a glance remember, because I was struggling with trying to figure out, you know, try to remember all these different products, all these different suppliers. And then I just kind of came up with this file, you know, system, and it's worked really well since I've done it.
Thing that I would do differently is in the sample stage, I had a logo made and my domain and my website. So this is what I decided to do. I got a domain name for my product. I got the website for my product, and then I went to Fiverr and I got a logo for my product. And the reason I did that now versus later is I was putting the logo on the products, so I had to have this all kind of figured out in my head. But I wish I had started that or had it earlier in the process, because then I ended up waiting on it. So I got my logo made at Fiverr, not sure which way you say it, but I had to wait to get that done. And I had some changes that I wanted to make to it. And I actually had suppliers in China waiting for the logo. And so that was a misstep. I should have had that already done and finalized, had my source files on my computer. That way, when I was talking to them about the logo, I could have sent my logo with the conversation. And that way they knew exactly the colors of my logo, exactly how elaborate it was. They could price it better. We could see if it would fit, if it would look right with the product. I could have just saved myself having that logo already done. The last thing, of course, is maybe I should have started with Mike's Collins group. And the funny thing is I thought about it last year because I'd met him, I'd met the Gilmans and everything, and I'd actually considered it, and I thought, no, you know, I'm going to do this myself. And my dad was really sick,
And so I just thought it would be better if I had, just kind of eased into it and did it myself. And I really felt confident that I could do it myself because I'm a good learner that way. I'm going to put that out there. I still think that anybody can self-teach private label. I actually feel, even though the title of my last video was what to do when it doesn't work, looking back, I actually think it did work. I was successful. I not only sourced one product, but I sourced multiple products and had samples sent to me. Looking back, however, I realized that looking at the calendar, I spent 4 months getting these products sourced to me. And I really don't feel I would have done that perhaps if I had had access to a really solid course. I feel like I would have felt more secure in the movements that I made, so I would have made them faster. I would have gone through the process, quicker. I would have had people to handhold and ask questions with real time. I wouldn't have made as many mistakes. I wouldn't have felt as frustrated. And that is the reason that I decided to do the course.
Okay, so this is inside Mike Collins' course, 2016 and beyond. And last video, I showed you an example of a video that he has on here and also like the written documents that they have on here. But I wanted to show you actually inside the program in case you haven't seen it yet and were interested. So this is like a welcome screen, and I'll just kind of scroll down. And this is where you can click to be part of the Facebook group and the mastermind group and to receive the copywriting course that was mentioned in the webinar. So all three of those I'm doing. This is all the support and contact information and people commenting. And then, so you can mark this as complete, which I think is organized very, very well. I'm very organized. I like things to be like this. Okay, then phase 1, you can kind of read through what it walks you through so you know. And then when you're all done with that, you can go to phase 2, and then phase 3. And then a lot of people like these co-ops because it saves you a lot of money by, like, as you can see, the ASIN inspector discount and all of this, news and updates and the live webinars. So this is how it's organized, and I think that's pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with how simple it is, how user-friendly it is, and how it's easy to navigate. Anyone can go at their own pace doing this. And of course, the real jewel, I think, is probably more in this accountability and being able to ask questions when you don't know the answer, and then you have an answer within, a few minutes. Whereas if you're trying to do it yourself, it could take you weeks to figure it out, on your own. So I just wanted to show you that real quick.
It's just, do you want to pay the money? And that's the hang-up. Like, well, that's the cost of my first product. And that was my hang-up too. So I get it. Like, I get what you're saying with that. I want the 12-hour days to stop. I want the frustration to stop. I want it to be easier, more efficient. I want to make less mistakes, and I want to move through the other 2 phases, the marketing phase and all of that. I wanted to move better, moving forward from this point. And so that is why I chose to start this course now. And in hindsight, I probably should have started it when I first considered it. But it's kind of good. I'm glad I gave it a go because now I know that it's better. And now I can kind of share with you both sides of it. I've walked it myself, and now I'm walking it with Mike's course. I'm really excited about now because now that I have my samples, I'm moving into the Amazon PPC clicks, working on my listings, my pictures, all of that. So the next private label video is probably going to be a little bit before we get to that. If I come across anything like really cool, or I think you need to know like right now, I'll pop a video out just like I did with the Mike Collins course, some information that I want to get to you. But we'll just move on like we normally do with Tracy's Tuesday Tips. And then when I'm in a position to do a video after I've walked through that process, I will, and I'll pop it out on Tuesday. Just signed up for the mastermind course, so hopefully I'll see some familiar names and faces in that. Down below, I'm going to go ahead and put Mike's, there's a replay to the webinar that the Gilmans did. And then above that will be my affiliate link. So if you do choose to use the video, I'd appreciate you using my link because I get some kickback from that, which helps. Every little bit helps, right? So
that's it for today. Until next video, guys. Bye.